You wake up screaming, not because anything's wrong, but because that's just how life starts here. Your first memory? Falling. Because the second you're born, Homer drops you. Marge catches you midair with the reflexes of someone who's done this before. Bart watches with mild disappointment, like he was hoping you'd hit the floor. Lisa just jots down something in a notebook. And Grandpa Abe, asleep in the corner, wakes up just long enough to mumble something about the war before passing out again. You haven't even processed the concept of sight yet, and you're already regretting being here. Then, the house shakes. You glance out the window. The tire fire is still burning, always has been. A man in a chicken suit is sprinting from the cops. Krusty the Clown is getting arrested on live TV. Welcome to Springfield. Welcome to the Simpsons. And worst of all, welcome to your family. Some families are loving, supportive, and actually make life better. Your family? Not that. Your dad, Homer Simpson, full-time nuclear safety inspector, part-time walking hazard, has been hit on the head so many times he legally shouldn't be allowed to drive. Somehow, survived a bear attack, space travel, and heart surgery all in one season. Your mom, Marge Simpson, holds this household together with sheer willpower and an unsettling amount of patience. Could have done better, didn't, still pretending everything is fine. Your sister Lisa, smarter than everyone here. Smarter than everyone in Springfield. Trapped in a house where intelligence is a disability. And then there's Bart, your biggest problem, lives to make your life worse, has already pranked you 5 times today, and you just learned how to stand upright. And the youngest, Maggie Simpson. She'll make an appearance later, but don't let that pacifier-sucking baby face fool you. She's a cold-blooded killer. And then there's Grandpa Abe, shows up at random, complains, then falls asleep mid-sentence. And just when you think, okay, I can handle this, your aunts show up. Patty and Selma arrive in a cloud of cigarette smoke and disappointment. They think your dad is an evolutionary accident, remind your mom she could have done better, look at you like you've already let them down, and now you're stuck with them forever. So, yeah, this is your family. And after a few years of surviving them, you realize something. If this household is already this bad, what does the rest of Springfield look like? So, you step outside, immediately trip over a drunk clown. Down the street, a man gets hit by a car, twice, then stands up, dusts himself off, and keeps walking. At the Quick E-Mart, Apu is calmly restocking shelves while getting robbed at gunpoint. And this town, it doesn't even function like a real place. One day, you and Bart bike to the beach. The next, you take the same road and somehow end up in the desert. There's a mountain, a forest, a canyon, and a nuclear power plant leaking radiation into the river, all within walking distance. And that's when it hits you. No matter where you go, you always end up back here. Springfield won't let you leave. And if that's not bad enough, tomorrow you start school. And that's when things really go downhill. Your first day at Springfield Elementary. You step inside, and the ceiling tiles immediately collapse. The walls, peeling paint, exposed wires, and at least one rat wearing a tiny backpack. Your teacher? Tired. Just tired. Your principal? A war veteran locked in an endless power struggle with his own mother. Your lunch? The only thing in the school more dangerous than Bart. It moves, it growls, you don't ask the questions. And then there's Bart. Bart runs this place. He's already been in detention twice today, and it's not even noon. Somehow you get dragged into one of his schemes. One moment you're minding your own business, the next you're on the roof, Principal Skinner is yelling, and Groundskeeper Willie's chasing you with a rake. Welcome to your education. You won't learn much, but you will survive. Maybe. Most people grow up wondering what their parents do for a living. You wish you didn't know. Your dad works at a nuclear power plant. Not as a scientist, not as an engineer, as a safety inspector. And that should concern everyone. Your first visit to the plant is a horror movie in real time. Radioactive barrels are just lying around, leaking into the floor. A rat runs past you. It has glowing green fur and opposable thumbs. Blinky, the three-eyed fish, makes direct eye contact, and then sirens. A meltdown? Nope. Homer just dropped his donut on the main control panel. And somehow, this isn't even his worst day on the job. He has fallen asleep during a reactor meltdown, caused an explosion by pressing the wrong button twice, been fired and rehired more times than anyone can count, and yet, he still has a job. Because Mr. Burns, the 104-year-old fossil who owns this place, actually thinks he's a great employee. Meanwhile, you're just standing there breathing in secondhand radiation. And deep down, you know you're definitely gonna grow an extra limb. So, after spending an entire day absorbing secondhand radiation at your dad's job, you decide to take a walk and clear your head. Bad idea. Because 5 minutes into your stroll, you realize Springfield isn't just a town, it's a crime scene with a zip code. First, you pass a mobster casually shaking down Moe's tavern. Then you see Chief Wiggum trying to arrest his own reflection. And just when you think it can't get worse, a clown sprints past you, actively fleeing the cops. And Fat Tony, the literal mafia boss, he's having dinner with the mayor. You realize in real time that law and order do not exist here, which is great if you ever need to get away with something, and terrible if you ever need help. And unfortunately, you're about to need help because Springfield's government is even worse. So after witnessing a full-blown crime spree happening in broad daylight, you decide, hey, maybe someone in charge can fix this. Bad news, Springfield's government isn't just bad, it's actively making things worse. You go to City Hall hoping to file a complaint. The receptionist, asleep. The mayor, nowhere to be found. And just when you think it can't get more dysfunctional, Mayor Quimby walks in, stuffing a wad of cash into his pocket. And behind him, Fat Tony, giving him a thumbs up. You quickly realize this entire town is one big scam. The budget, constantly wasted on useless projects. The town name, changed multiple times to dodge bad press. The fire department, mostly just volunteers with a bucket. And the worst part, nobody cares. At this point, Springfield has been bought by a billionaire and turned into a private company, turned into a gambling city, Vegas style, completely destroyed and rebuilt multiple times, and somehow, nobody even remembers half of it. You step outside just in time to see a citywide riot forming. Because in Springfield, that's the solution to every problem. And you're in the middle of it. At this point, you've accepted that Springfield is held together by duct tape, denial, and sheer dumb luck. But just when you think you've seen it all, snake whacking day. You wake up to an entire town running through the streets with clubs, gleefully whacking snakes. For no reason, and that's just one of the annual traditions. Springfield also celebrates the purge, but make it legal. Once a year, the town randomly picks one person to chase out with torches and pitchforks. Meteor showers, but with looting. A simple stargazing event somehow always ends in mass destruction. Founders Day, but drunk and unhinged. The town reenacts its history by immediately starting a riot. And after each event, the town just resets. No consequences, no lessons learned, just another day in Springfield. 1 minute you're watching your neighbors commit arson, the next everyone is at Moe's like nothing happened. And you just standing there realizing there's no such thing as progress here, just an endless loop of stupidity. Welcome to Springfield, where every day is chaos and every year is a fresh new disaster. And unfortunately, your family's about to make it even worse. Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, Maggie happens. And unlike you, who entered this world with all the enthusiasm of a sitcom pilot, Maggie's arrival was a financial disaster. Because, at this point, your dad was free. No, seriously, Homer actually escaped. He quit the power plant, left, got himself a cozy job at the bowling alley, no nuclear disasters, no burns, just rolling balls and eating nachos. For the first time in his life, he was happy. And then Marge hit him with, "We're having another baby." And suddenly, his dream job just didn't pay enough to keep 4 kids fed. So, with no other choice, Homer crawled back to the power plant like a dog that ran away from home, only to return when it got hungry. And Mr. Burns, oh, he had fun with this one. Not only did he make Homer beg for his job back, but he also put up a motivational plaque right at his workstation. Just in case Homer ever thought about having hope again. But here's the thing. Homer might be dumb, but he's also insanely petty. So instead of looking at that soul-crushing reminder every day, he slapped Maggie's baby pictures over it. Which would be kind of sweet, except for the fact that the first chance she got, Maggie shot Mr. Burns. No hesitation, no remorse, just straight up poetic irony. And your family, they just call her a little angel and move on. And before you even have time to process that, Aunt Selma just adopted a lizard and is calling it her baby. Because if there's one thing this family refuses to do, it's be normal. By now, you've seen enough of Springfield to know it's held together by duct tape and denial. The government, a joke. The school system, a war zone. The economy, actively trying to kill you. So it shouldn't surprise you that organized crime runs this place. You already know about Fat Tony. The guy practically owns Springfield. And if he doesn't, he knows the guy who does. But Springfield's favorite criminal, he's not some shady figure operating in back alleys. He's a clown. No, not metaphorically, an actual clown. And the worst part, you should have seen this coming, because remember that washed up clown who used to pass out on your front lawn? Yeah, turns out he's a millionaire. A man who has been arrested more times than you can count, faked his own death to avoid paying taxes, runs a burger empire despite multiple food poisoning scandals, literally framed your dad for armed robbery, and yet, every time he fails, Springfield just lets him bounce back. 1 minute, he's in court for fraud. The next, he's launching a new fast food item and selling toys to kids. At this point, you don't even know if he's actually funny or if Springfield just has Stockholm Syndrome. And you're tired, Because if this is what a beloved role model looks like, what chance do you have? It's clear now, this town is beyond saving, and if you have any sense of self-preservation, there's only one thing left to do. Get out. You don't exactly know when the breaking point was. Maybe it was the crime, maybe it was the constant government failures, maybe it was the fact that you watched a tire fire burn for years and nobody ever thought to put it out. Either way, you're done. You pack your bags, take one last look at this town, and walk out the door. But that's the thing about Springfield. Nobody actually leaves. You take a bus, it loops right back into town. You try a train, derails before it even leaves the station. You try to walk in a straight line for miles, only to find yourself back at your front door, still holding your bags. You even ask your parents about it, but they just shrug. Happens to everyone. At first you think it's some weird cosmic joke. Maybe Springfield just doesn't let go. But then you start thinking, other people have left. Apu, gone. Edna, moved away. Even Mo disappears sometimes. The only ones who stay? The Simpsons. And that's when the real horror sets in. Maybe the problem was never Springfield. Maybe it was your last name. You always thought the problem was Springfield. The corruption, the crime, the fact that this town has every possible climate within a 10-minute drive. But no. The real curse? Being a Simpson. Because it doesn't matter what you do, your life will always end up in the gutter. Your dad causes half the town's disasters. Your mom pretends none of it is happening. Your sister is too smart for this place but will never leave. Your baby sibling has a confirmed kill count. And Bart, oh, you're suffering now? Try growing up with a sibling whose entire life goal is to make yours worse. And you will never escape the cycle. One day you'll wake up and you won't even fight it anymore. You'll just accept that your life will always be a series of bizarre disasters, unexplainable physics, and legally questionable decisions. And at some point, you'll probably cause a few of them yourself. Because being a Simpson, it's not a name, it's a life sentence.